Okay. Tonight we are continuing our Launch and Learn series on mastering Salesforce formulas. And tonight we're going to be looking into practical use cases and applications. So it's not talking, but it's more about practical use case. I wouldn't make a lot of presentation. I will just jump straight into the hog and start showing you stuff. Okay. The reason why we're having this session is to prepare you for whatever it is that is coming ahead in terms of you working as a consultant. Most cases, if you're working in the industry, you come across formulas a lot, particularly if you're working as a consultant. As a consultant, you'll be asked to do things that are typically very straightforward, but could be very tricky when it comes to building it, because the reason why you would be doing this is because the developer wouldn't want to write a code regarding formulas. And not just that, there's some architecture that just requires you to have a formula as opposed to creating or writing code. Okay. So tonight we're going to be looking at practical use cases, not just writing the formula or what the formula is. But before that, let's go through some few concepts about Salesforce formulas. So the Salesforce formula is a powerful tool that allows you to create custom logic and calculate values in real time. What does that mean? It means that when you're writing formulas, you don't need to press or push a button for that formula to run. Once you save the formula, it automatically calculates itself and give you the value based on the evaluation of that formula. Okay. So they use across different areas of Salesforce. They're using workflow rules. Previously, Salesforce has what they call the workflow rules. Although they still have it till date, it's just that it's not active as compared to flow. So they use it in workflow rules, they use it in validation rules, they use it in flow building. For instance, you want to trigger a flow. How do you trigger a flow? You want to trigger a flow based on a particular formula. So they use formulas a lot to trigger flow, formulas to evaluate an expression and get the result. And sometimes they use formulas in building reports and dashboards. So it's very, very important you have an idea of what the formulas are in Salesforce. I wouldn't call this an advanced session, but if you are a new cohort member, then obviously this is advanced for you, because when you start your own training, you will go through the fundamentals of the Salesforce before you get into formulas. So this is just for you to take notes, and is a Launch and Learn series for the professional or the CPD members. So just giving you heads up in case you struggle to understand what is being said tonight. Remember, you're still getting started in the ecosystem. This is not really for you, but it's good that you're here. Okay. So now, what are the features of formula? When you talk about formula, there are certain features. One thing, like I said earlier, is it automatically recalculates when reference field change. So what does that mean? So if I change my reference field from get me the amount to get me the revenue, now the reference field has changed. I'm no longer referencing amount of a product. I'm referencing the total amount or revenue of a product, which is a different field. So once you change the field that the formula is referencing, the data in that formula field automatically changes. Number two, it's no code, meaning that you don't have to write a code. Obviously, you still use the syntax that looks like a code, but it's not really coding. So coding is when you're writing the if-else logic in Apex language, and this is nothing to Apex, okay? Number three, it can support different objects at the same time as long as they are related. For instance, if you have the account object and you have the contact object, you can get the primary contact from directly from the contact object, because directly from the account object, because account and contact are related, and vice versa. I can get the account name of a contact by just referencing a formula. Okay, so formula fields are cross-object reference or multi-object support, which means that I can get data from a particular object as long as they are related in the model. Number two, types of formulas. What are the types of formulas? Yes, formulas are categorized into different types. Don't assume everything you do, it's actually a particular formula. No, they are mathematical formulas. What are mathematical formulas? Mathematical formulas are just expression of the typical mathematical expressions you have. For instance, I have the total quantity and I have the price. Can you find me the total amount? The total amount is price times quantity. That's a mathematical expression. There's nothing crazy about that, right? If you have your basic algebra knowledge, if you have your basic um, arithmetic knowledge, you should be able to create that as long as you know where field to reference. Then we have the logical formula. The logical formula are your or, and not, okay? Or, and not. What does that mean? So it means that if you want to find out something and you say, I want to find out all cases where case is opened and case was created 2 days ago. And that's the and operator, or I call it the logical formula. The logical formula means you're expressing or you're looking for something by using the logic involved in expressing that thing, the and, the not, and the or. And I'll show you how to write those expressions shortly. Then we have the test operator. The test operator is generally you are just evaluating a test. For instance, I have a billing city to be Los Angeles. I have the state to be California. I have the address. I have the zip code. Can I write a full address without asking the customer to write the full address? Then you use a test operator. The test operator will concatenate the city, the state, the zip code, and the country, and you have a full address. Okay, that's concatenation. It's a very easy, straightforward formula type, but it's very useful, particularly if you're building shipping information or you are maybe sending an email to a customer and you want to append their address in that email. Okay. Then we have the date and time. The date and time essentially are what you already know, but you can add dates, you can subtract days. So you can add a day to a particular date and make it the next day. You can subtract a day from a particular day and make it the previous day. And you can multiply by a value of, if the date is 3 times more than the expected, then you evaluate something, okay? Then we have again, I think that this is a repetition, the logical formula. Then we have the test operator for the date as well. For instance, you have today. When you want to evaluate today, how do you get it? In coding, you can get current time. But with formula, all you just need to do is today or now or year date. If you say year date, that means you're getting the year from the date. If you say month date, then you're getting the month from the date. So we're going to see how this stuff really works when we get to the practical session. But I need to kind of like get you started with the basics of the formula. Okay. So it's very important to know what you're going to be getting into in the next few minutes. Now, we have the conditional logic. The conditional logic is one of the most used formula. Why? Because the conditional logic is what actually creates dynamic data. You know, the whole thing that we have before, their logic in the sense that I know that 2 plus 2 is going to be 4. I know 5 plus 6 is going to be 11, right? Those are logic that you already know. However, there are some logic that they call conditional. Conditional means that I want to display blue or red, depending on the value of a particular field. If weather is 22 degrees Celsius, I want to display red or hot temperature. If weather is minus 7 degrees Celsius, I want to display cold weather. So you're basing a display of a particular test because of the value of a condition. So we're going to be looking into conditional logic. How do you write conditional logic? How do you display data based on a particular condition? Okay. Then we have the validation rules. This is like your bread and butter in Salesforce. If you don't know validation rules, you're going to struggle because everything you do requires some form of validation. The basic validation is when you have a required field. You know, when you're creating a field and you make the field required, then obviously it's a validation on itself. But there are also validations that you can write. For instance, only an admin should be able to create a record. Only someone with a role greater than 4 should be able to update a record. If the this person is not an admin or not a supervisor, then do not allow record creation. Validation rules ensures that you ensures the data integrity you put into the system by verifying and validating the data before it enters and saves into the Salesforce system. So validation rules are very, very important when it comes to formula. Okay, so now use cases. I'll give you a bit of some of the use cases that we're going to go through tonight, but we're going to go through about 30 use cases. In those 30 use cases, you find one use case that you're familiar with and you need some clarification on that. This is a lunch and learn lesson, which means that you can stop me, you can raise your hand and stop me and ask me questions, or you can also create a scenario and ask us to walk through that scenario, okay? Because it's meant for you to learn and not for me to teach you. I will try my best to teach one or two things, but I don't want to teach. I want you to learn and we learn together. So if you have any particular formula that you're struggling with and you want to understand how that formula is created or analyze and break down that formula, this is a forum you want to learn those things, okay? So first use case, I want to calculate the total price based on the unit price and quantity of an item in an order. Straightforward, right? Arithmetic. Price times quantity. So you just need to know what field is price, you need to know what field is quantity, and you have the total price. I want to show discounts applied to an order for better transparency. So if you want to find out the discount that has been applied for a particular order, you can use formula to find a discount. Let's say the discount was 10%. Then you just see the number, $50. How did they get $50? You use formula to find out based on the discount, okay? Then you want to automate tasks. Sometimes you might be using Salesforce to build a report for the compliance of your financial statement and the likes. Then you can use formula to automate the tax you have to pay. For instance, in Ontario, it's 13% tax. So if you want to know how much tax you need to pay, then you just multiply by the tax and you get the number. Formula is very crucial to achieving this, okay? You don't need to add code taxes, you don't need to add code anything. You just use formula and it's automatically done out of the box. Then we have provide insight into profitability. I want to find the profit margin. How do you find the profit margin? You find the gross minus sales divided by the gross. You can get the profit percentage or the profit margin and the like. So formulas can help you achieve that straight out of the box. Okay. There's so many use cases for formula. I can just go through some of them. I highlight cases older than 7 days as high priority. So I want to look all into my cases. And if a case is older than 7 days, I would like to flag it as a high priority. That's a use case for a formula. And it's going to happen a lot on the job. Some of our workers in Blackforce, sometimes I just give them tasks. Oh, why not do this? Why not do that? It takes formula to achieve that. But if you don't know how to use it, then you will struggle. Okay? Then you can escalate case condition based on formula. What does that mean? Sorry. You can decide to say, oh, this case needs to be escalated because it has passed due date for evaluation or submission or anything like that. So you can use formula to find out cases that needs to be escalated. Automate approval requirement for large deals. So if you're making large deals, you can actually automate the approval requirement. If a particular deal needs to be approved, for instance, if a deal is greater than $100,000 and if a deal is greater than $100,000, you might want to automate the approval as opposed to no. If a deal is greater than $100,000 and maybe potential client is an enterprise client and the likes, you might want to automate the approval for that deal if you're going to be making a lot of money from it, right? So you don't want to wait until a supervisor reviews that deal before you approve it. There's so many use cases. For instance, I want to categorize opportunities into different tiers. For instance, you can have opportunities as platinum, gold, silver. How do you do that outright without having to find someone update that opportunity? You use formula. So there's so many use cases we can go through tonight, but it will be as fast as possible because I wanted to stop me while we're doing it so that you can understand better by asking questions. Okay. So if you see me do anything tonight that you don't understand, please stop me or raise your hand and I'll walk you through or explain better how we achieve that. Okay. Then we have automatically classify account for targeted sales and marketing, automatic compliance flags, and the likes. So let's quickly start what we need to do tonight. So basically, I've just spring up an hog, and if you're just joining us again, if you're a member of Court 9, this is going to be strange to you right now. However, remember, this is Launch and Learn. It's mainly for CPD members that are already in the industry and they just want to learn one or two things regarding their career development. So don't feel like you need to know what I'm showing you right now. If you're a member of Cohort 9, just play along. But when you start your training, you will go back to this video just because you want to understand how to create formulas. Okay? So have that at the back of your mind. Now, let's start with the basic formula. So I think I've gotten all my use cases and my formula in my notepad just for me to easily access the formula. So the first one is the first use case. I want to automate the calculation of the total price based on the unit price and quantity item. So how can I get, where should I be going? Okay, where should I be going? You want to go into, obviously, doesn't matter what object you have, okay? But typically, if you're selling and if you're doing something that has to do with sales, you want to do it in the orders, this thing, okay? So this is like a typical object and you want to create a formula. So let's go into the back end. This is a basic formula, okay? If you don't get this right, then obviously there's a problem. I'm going to go to the order object. And I'm going to look at what we have in the order table, okay? By order table, I mean order object. So this is a standard object, okay? I want to find the total price based on quantity and individual price, okay? So I look at it and I was like, okay, there's account, there's account number, there's activated, there's billing address, there's order amount, okay, total amount, there is end dates. So let me try to just see what we have out of the box before we do any formula. I go to order, I go to new, and I go to status activated. Let me just see if you need to have a contract in order to have a order. I think that will take a longer process. I might as well just use the account information. Okay, I'll go to accounts. And in the account, what do I need? I need to have this field called unit price. Okay. So I'm going to create a field called unit price. What is a price? Now you're creating formula. What you need to know about formula is you still need to know the data type of formula. Okay. The data type of formula is important. The data type is the type of data that needs to be entered in a particular field. When you're creating a formula, you can have a text, you can have a currency, you can have so many things you can have, right? Even if you're evaluating that formula, it's going to tell you that you cannot enter certain thing based on the data type of the expression you're making. For instance, if you're checking if this is true, do this. If this is false, do this. True and false is a Boolean check, right? So if you want the outcome of your evaluation to be true or false, then you need to select checkbox, right? Because checkbox is a Boolean true or false field. Okay. So for this one, what we're doing is we're calculating the total price, but we need what? We need the unit price and we need the quantity. So when you're talking about price, what does that mean? You're talking about currency. Okay. So we select the data type to be currency. Then I can go to next, and I say, what do I want? I want unit price. I put unit price. Okay. Remember, if you wanted to have decimal place, you put 16 and 2 for 2 decimal places. If you want to have 4 decimal places, you put 4 here and you put 14 here. Okay. So whichever one you want, remember, you're building your model. Okay. So I have my unit price, which is this. Next. Again, cohort 9 members, don't worry about this. Just watch and follow on. When you start your admin, you understand this better, okay? So I wouldn't want to tell you more about visibility and stuff. Your instructor will tell you about this. Next, I save. Then I save and new because I want to also create quantity, okay? Quantity. Then I go to quantity. What should quantity be? When you are buying a product, for instance, quantity would always be 1, 2, 3. You cannot buy 2.5, right? You cannot buy 3.5. You can only buy 1, 2, 3. So what does that mean? It has to be a number. It has to be a number, okay? So you select number because that's quantity. Quantity is a fixed integer, right? So it has to be number. Then you type in quantity. Then you don't need to put the decimal place because it has to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and the likes, okay? So now that we have the unit price, we have the quantity. If you go to the front end and you try to enter this data, so if you go to the account, you go to new, you'll be able to see unit price and quantity, right? But our goal is to find the total price. So how do we create the total price? We create new and we create a formula. So you don't do the total price by selecting another data type. You know that definitely it's something that needs to be created automatically. Okay, it's something that needs to be created automatically. So you don't select the data type that exists. You select it's a formula first. Okay, that's the first thing. It's a formula, and the next thing is you put the total price. You put the total price. Okay, you put the total price. And what will be the outcome? What is total price? Total price is what? Is a currency. Total price is money, is a currency. And decimal place is 2. You can increase the decimal place if you want, but the currency, okay, is very important. If you don't select currency, it's going to give you an error. So now, this is building the formula. There are different types of formulas, like I told you. There is add, subtract, multiply, divide, exponential. These are your normal arithmetic formula. I just want to add one or two things together. I want to subtract 1 or 2 things together. Very easy, very straightforward. This is why it's called simple formula. Okay, simple formula in the sense that I have what? I have my quantity and I have my unit price. So what do? I want to insert multiply. That's it. Before you save, you have to check your syntax and make sure that it's okay. If you have the green syntax, it means it's okay. Then you save. You don't need to put equals to something like this. You don't need to do all those stuff. It's automatically evaluated. Okay, it's automatically evaluated. Then you save. Okay. I want to show you another information about formula. So if you were to do advanced formula, okay, total price, okay, I'm just giving you another example. Currency again, because why? The outcome of this is a currency, okay? The outcome is a currency. That's why you're selecting currency, okay? Then we have next. Now, I showed you the simple formula, right? What if you want to make it advanced formula? What is advanced formula? Advanced formula is just a complicated interface. If you know what you're doing, then you use advanced formula. If you don't know what you're doing, you use simple formula. Advanced formula, can you see? It has a lot of options. The options are still the same, but now you can do If it's equal to this, do this. If the quantity is not equal to this, do this. Okay? Let's start with this. Insert